Park looked out the window of the shuttle and saw the research station floating in the darkness of space. It was called Horizon Prime, and it was the largest station she had ever seen. Behind it, a dead brown planet hung like a forgotten stone. Nothing lived on that world anymore. Nothing had lived there for millions of years. The shuttle docked with a soft bump, grabbed her bag and walked through the airlock. She was nervous. This was her first assignment outside human space, and she was just an engineer. She fixed machines. She kept systems running. She was not special in any way, and she knew it. A tall creature waited for her on the other side. It had 6 legs and a hard shell like an insect. Its eyes were large and dark, and when it spoke, its voice clicked and buzzed in a strange way. "Welcome to Horizon Prime," the creature said. "I am Director. You must be the human engineer." Bowed her head slightly. "Yes, Director Park, thank you for having me." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "We are happy to have you. Humans are still new to the galaxy, but your people have shown great skill with machines. Come, I will show you the station." They walked through long hallways, saw aliens of many kinds. Some were tall and thin with blue skin. Others were short and covered in fur. A few floated in the air using technology she did not understand. Everyone looked at her with curiosity. Humans were rare this far from Earth. "Your friend arrived yesterday," said the "I believe." Smiled. "Is here, that is good. We studied together on Earth." "He is in the artifact chamber. Perhaps you would like to see it before you begin your work." Nodded. She had heard about the artifact. Everyone in the galaxy had heard about it. It was the reason this station existed. Led her to a large door. It opened with a hiss and they stepped into a circular room. The walls were covered with screens showing data and images. Scientists of many species worked at stations around the edges. And in the center of the room, standing on a platform behind thick glass, was the armor. Stopped walking. She could not help it. The armor was beautiful in a way she had not expected. It was dark silver, almost black, and it seemed to absorb the light around it. It was shaped for a body with 2 arms and 2 legs, but the proportions were strange. Whoever had worn it was not human and not like any alien she knew. "The armor of the architects," said quietly, "found 200 years ago in the ruins of that dead planet below us. The only complete artifact they left behind." A voice called out from across the room. She turned and saw walking toward her with a big smile on his face. He was tall and thin, with messy hair and glasses that always seemed to slip down his nose. He hugged her quickly. "I cannot believe you are here," he said. "When did you arrive?" "Just now. The director was showing me around." Looked at the armor with excitement in his eyes. "Amazing, is it not? I have been studying it for 1 day, and I already have so many questions." A 4-armed alien approached them. Its skin was gray and its eyes were yellow. "Questions that will never be answered," it said. Its voice was tired and sad. "I am specialist. I have studied this armor for 43 years. It does not share its secrets." Looked at the armor again. "No one has ever made it work." Shook its head. "Every species in the Galactic Union has tried. We have used technology. We have used mental connections. We have used prayers to gods that do not exist. The armor remains dead, cold, silent." The alien sighed. "The architects built something perfect and then they disappeared. We will never know why." Director touched the shoulder with one of its legs. "Do not let make you sad. The armor is still a great treasure even if we cannot use it. Now come. I will show you the engineering section." Followed the director, but she kept looking back at the armor. There was something about it that pulled at her mind. She did not understand the feeling. The rest of the day was busy. Learned about the station systems. She met the other engineers. She ate strange food in the cafeteria and tried not to stare at the aliens around her. By the time the night cycle began, she was exhausted. But she could not sleep. She lay in her small room and thought about the armor. She kept seeing it in her mind. The dark silver color. The way it seemed to wait for something. After an hour, she gave up trying to rest. She got dressed and walked through the quiet hallways. The artifact chamber was empty. The night shift was minimal and no one was watching the armor. Entered the room slowly. Her footsteps echoed in the silence. She walked to the glass wall and looked at the armor. Up close, she could see tiny patterns on its surface. They looked like circuits but also like veins, like it was half machine and half alive. "What are you?" she whispered. The armor did not answer. Of course it did not. It was just an old relic, a mystery that would never be solved. Pressed her hand against the glass. She wished she could touch it. She wished she could understand what the architects had wanted when they made it. Then she noticed the small door in the glass, a maintenance access probably for cleaning. She looked around. No one was watching. Her heart beat faster. She should not do this. She knew she should not, but her hand was already reaching for the door. It opened easily. No alarm sounded. She stepped through. The armor was right in front of her now. She could feel heat coming from it, even though it said it was always cold. That was strange. Maybe she was imagining it. Her hand rose without her thinking about it. Her fingers moved toward the chest plate of the armor. She should stop. She should walk away, but she could not. Park touched the armor. Light exploded through the room. The armor blazed with energy, every pattern on its surface burning bright blue. Stumbled backward but could not look away. The light was beautiful and terrifying. Alarms screamed to life. Red lights flashed on every wall. She heard footsteps running toward the chamber, heard voices shouting in languages she did not understand. The armor was awake, and it was looking at her. The next 3 days were the strangest of life. She was not arrested, but she was not free either. Scientists asked her thousands of questions. They scanned her body with machines she had never seen before. They took samples of her blood, her hair, even her tears. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Why did the armor respond to her? Stayed with her as much as they allowed. He brought her food and sat with her while she waited between tests. His presence was the only thing that kept her calm. "I did not mean to do anything," said on the second night. "I just touched it, that is all." "I know," said. "No one blames you, they are just confused, we all are." Director came to see her often. The alien was kind but worried. "The armor has been dead for 200 years, said. "Every species tried to wake it. None succeeded. And then a human, a young engineer with no special training, touches it once and it comes alive." Clicked its jaws together. "The council is very interested. They are sending people." Felt sick. "What kind of people?" "All kinds." The armor had not gone dark again. It still glowed with soft blue light, and the scientists said its energy readings were off every scale they had. But it only reacted when was in the room. When she entered the chamber, the glow became brighter. When she left, it dimmed. The connection was clear. On the third day, specialists came to her with news. The old alien looked different now. The tiredness was gone from its eyes. Instead, there was wonder. "We have discovered something," said. The armor was designed to interface with a specific type of brain, a specific pattern of neural connections. For 200 years, we assumed no species had this pattern. We were wrong. "Humans have it?" asked. "Humans have it. Only humans. Your species evolved it by accident, millions of years after the architects disappeared. It is like a key fitting into a lock that no one knew existed." Did not know what to say. She was just an engineer. She fixed broken machines. She was not supposed to be part of something this big. 2 ships arrived at the station on the 4th day. One carried a diplomat from Earth. Was a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She met with privately before meeting with anyone else. "I am here to protect you," said. "Some people in the galaxy are afraid of what this means. Others want to take the armor for themselves. My job is to make sure neither of those things happens." The second ship carried Admiral, a military commander from the Empire. There were reptilian creatures with thick scales and cold eyes, was larger than most of his kind, and he wore medals on his chest that showed his power. The armor is a weapon, said at the first official meeting, was not invited but told her everything. The architects were the most advanced species in galactic history. They did not build toys. Whatever this armor does, it is dangerous. It should be destroyed before someone uses it against us. Stood her ground. The armor chose a human. It belongs with humanity. Humans are children in this galaxy, growled. You have been in space for less than a century. You do not understand what you have found. The arguments continued for 2 more days. Meanwhile, felt the armor calling to her. It was not a sound she could hear with her ears. It was something deeper, like a voice in the back of her mind. It wanted her to come closer. It wanted her to wear it. She told about the feeling. His face went pale. You should not do that, he said. We do not know what it will do to you. I know, but the feeling is getting stronger. I do not think I can ignore it forever. On the 6th day, everything changed. The armor began projecting images. They appeared in the air above it like holograms, but sharper and more real. Star maps, blueprints of machines no one recognized, and warnings. The same symbol repeating over and over, a circle being swallowed by darkness. It is a message, said, voice shaking with excitement. The armor is trying to communicate. With who? Asked. Everyone looked at. That night she made her decision. She walked to the artifact chamber alone, tried to stop her but shook her head. I have to do this, I can feel it. The chamber was full of scientists and guards, but they all stepped back when she entered. The armor blazed with light, brighter than ever before. The images floating above it disappeared. It was waiting for her. Walked up the platform. The glass walls had been removed days ago. Nothing stood between her and the armor now. She could feel heat coming from it, welcoming and warm. She could feel its voice in her mind, soft and patient. She reached out and touched the chest plate again. This time the armor opened. The front split down the middle and folded back like a flower greeting the sun. Inside she saw padding that looked like it had been made yesterday. No dust, no decay, perfect. Called from behind her, please, you do not have to do this. Yes, I do, she said. I think I was always meant to do this. She stepped into the armor. It closed around her like a gentle embrace. She felt it connecting to her skin, to her nerves, to her thoughts. For a moment there was only darkness. Then light exploded through her mind. She saw stars being born. She saw civilizations rising and falling. She saw the architects, tall and graceful beings with skin like liquid metal. They were building the armor, pouring their hopes into it. And they were afraid. She could feel their fear like it was her own. Something was coming. Something dark and empty and hungry. The architects called it by many names, but the one that stuck in her mind was simple. The silence. The vision faded, opened her eyes. She was still standing in the chamber, but everything felt different. She could feel the armor around her like a second skin. It had reshaped itself to fit her body perfectly. When she moved her arm, it moved with her. When she breathed, it breathed with her. Everyone was staring at her, had tears in his eyes, was gripping the edge of a console so hard her knuckles were white. Even Admiral looked shaken. What did you see? Asked, voice barely a whisper. Looked at the old scientist. Then she looked at the screens around the room. She raised her hand and the armor responded. New images appeared, clearer than before. A map of the galaxy with a single point marked. A place beyond the edge of known space. A place no one had ever recorded. I saw where we need to go, said, and I saw what is coming if we do not. The room was silent. The weight of her words hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Then Admiral did something no one expected. He bowed his head. Show us, he said. And did. The Galactic Council took 3 weeks to make their decision. 3 weeks of arguments, threats, and fear. Some species wanted to ignore the warning. Others wanted to lock away and study her forever. But in the end, the images she showed them were too clear to deny. Something terrible was waiting in the darkness, and the armor was pointing the way. A joint mission was approved. The human ship Endurance would lead a small fleet into uncharted space, would go with them, wearing the armor that only she could control, refused to stay behind. "You are not trained for this," told him the night before departure. "This is dangerous." "Everything about this is dangerous," said. "That is exactly why I am coming. Someone has to watch out for you." She wanted to argue, but she was too grateful to have him there. The Endurance was a good ship. It was not the largest or the most powerful in the fleet, but it was fast and strong. Captain Bay commanded it with a steady hand. He was an older man with gray hair and a calm voice that made everyone trust him. "I have been in space for 30 years, told when she boarded. "I have seen things that would make most people run away screaming, but I have never seen anything like you." "I am not anything special," said. "The armor is special. I am just the person who can wear it." Smiled. "That is exactly what makes you special." The pilot was a young woman named Han. She had quick hands and quicker eyes. Nothing escaped her attention. She guided the Endurance out of the station and into open space like the ship was part of her own body. The fleet followed behind them. There were ships from 12 different species, warships with their heavy armor, cruisers with their speed, science vessels packed with equipment. Even Admiral came along, commanding the largest battleship in the group. They traveled for 8 days through normal space. Then they reached the edge of the maps. "Beyond this point, no one has ever gone," announced. "Our scanners show nothing but empty space ahead." Felt the armor pulse against her skin. It was guiding her. "Keep going, we are on the right path." They entered the hollow. That was what the old records called it, a vast region of space where no stars burned, no planets floated, no life existed, just darkness stretching in every direction. The ships turned on all their lights, but the darkness seemed to swallow them. "This place feels wrong," said quietly. He was standing next to on the bridge, looking out the main window, like it is waiting for something. Nodded. She felt it too. The armor was working harder now, keeping her warm against a cold that was not physical. Something in this place did not want them here. On the 3rd day in the hollow, things went wrong. Was the first to notice. "Captain, I am picking up something on the scanners, multiple contacts coming from all directions." Leaned forward in his chair. "What are they?" "I do not know. They are not ships. They are just shapes, and they are fast." The attack came without warning. The shapes were machines, ancient and covered in dust. They had been sleeping in the darkness for millions of years, and now they were awake. Defense systems left behind by someone who did not want visitors. The first warship exploded before anyone could react, then a cruiser, then another. The alien ships fired back, but their weapons did nothing. The ancient machines were too fast, too strong. "All ships fall back," voice roared over the communication system. "Retreat to the edge of the hollow." But it was too late. More machines came. They surrounded the fleet like wolves surrounding sheep. One by one, the ships were disabled or destroyed. Escape pods launched into the darkness, but no one knew if they would survive. The Endurance was hit. Alarms screamed. Smoke filled the hallways. Fought with the controls, trying to keep the ship moving, but another machine was coming right at them. Ran to the front of the bridge. She pressed her hands against the window and reached out with her mind. She did not know what she was doing. She just knew she had to try. The armor blazed with light. Energy poured out of it, spreading through the ship and beyond. A shield formed around the Endurance, bright blue and strong. The machine crashed against it and broke apart like glass hitting stone. Stared at her. "How did you do that?" "I do not know," said. Her voice was shaking. "The armor did it. It responded to what I wanted." More machines came. held the shield, but she could feel herself getting weaker. The armor was using her energy as much as its own. She did not know how long she could last. Then the machine stopped. They pulled back, disappearing into the darkness. The fleet was in ruins. Only 5 ships remained, and most of them were badly damaged, but they were alive. "Why did they stop?" asked. Looked at the window. Ahead of them, barely visible in the endless black, something was glowing. A structure so large it seemed impossible. It was not a planet. It was not a station. It was something in between. "Because we reached it," said. "We reached the place the armor wanted us to find." The structure grew larger as they approached. It was made of the same dark silver material as the armor. Patterns covered its surface, the same patterns that had glowed when first touched the armor. The whole thing was dormant, silent, waiting. Captain ordered the ship to stop a safe distance away. "We need to scan it. We need to understand what we are dealing with." But the structure had other plans. Light ran across its surface like lightning through clouds. The patterns blazed to life, brighter than any star. Felt something reach into her mind. Not painful, not violent. Just a touch, gentle and curious. Then a voice spoke. It did not use words. It used feelings, images, memories. It spoke directly into her thoughts, bypassing language entirely. "You came." Trembled. "Yes, the armor brought me. We have been waiting so long." The voice felt old, older than anything she had ever imagined. "You are the one we hoped for." "Who are you?" "We are what remains of the architects. This is our vault, our final message to whoever would come." The structure opened. A door appeared in its side, large enough for the entire Endurance to fly through. Light poured out, welcoming and warm. Said, grabbing her arm, "We do not know what is in there." She looked at him. She saw the fear in his eyes, and she felt the same fear in her heart. But she also felt something else, a certainty that had been growing since she first touched the armor. "I know," she said, "but I was meant to find out, and I think the galaxy depends on what we learn." She turned to Captain. "Take us in." Hesitated for only a moment, then he nodded. The Endurance flew into the light. The inside of the vault was not what expected. She had imagined cold metal walls and ancient machinery. Instead, she found a garden. Plants of every color grew in perfect rows. Water flowed through channels carved into the floor. Light came from nowhere and everywhere at once. It was beautiful, and it was impossible. "This cannot be real," whispered as they walked through the entrance. The Endurance had landed on a platform near the door, and the crew had followed inside. "Nothing can grow in the hollow. There is no sun here." "The architects were more advanced than we can imagine," said. "The old scientist had survived the attack and insisted on coming. They could do things we cannot understand." Walked ahead of the group. The armor guided her steps, leading her deeper into the garden. The plants seemed to move as she passed, turning toward her like flowers turning toward light. She was not afraid. She felt like she was coming home. The garden ended at a great hall. The ceiling rose so high she could not see where it stopped. In the center of the hall stood a single figure. It was made of the same dark silver as the armor, and it was shaped like the being she had seen in her visions. An architect. The figure was not alive, could see that immediately. It was a statue, a monument, but as she approached, it began to glow. The patterns on its surface lit up just like the armor, and then it spoke. "Welcome, child of the waiting world." The voice was the same one that had touched her mind before. "We have preserved this message across the ages. If you are hearing it, then our hope was not in vain." Stopped in front of the statue. "I do not understand. What hope? What happened to your people?" The statue's glow brightened. Images appeared in the air around them, filling the great hall with light and shadow. Everyone watched in silence as the story unfolded. The architects had been the first intelligent species in the galaxy. They rose billions of years before any other civilization. They built wonders that spanned star systems. They explored every corner of the cosmos and found nothing but empty worlds waiting to be filled with life. Then they found the silence. It came from somewhere outside the galaxy, or perhaps outside reality itself. No one knew. It was not a creature or a force or a weapon. It was an absence, a hunger that unmade existence wherever it touched. Stars disappeared. Planets vanished. Entire species were erased so completely that nothing remained to prove they had ever lived. The architects fought back. They used every weapon they had. Nothing worked. The silence could not be hurt because it was not truly alive. It was entropy given form. The end of all things, moving faster than the universe intended. So the architects ran. They fled to the most distant corners of space. They hid in the hollow where nothing existed that the silence could consume, and they made a plan. They could not stop the silence. Their minds were too logical, too ordered. They thought in straight lines, and the silence existed outside all lines. But perhaps, they thought, another species could succeed where they had failed. A species with a different kind of mind. A mind that was messy and emotional and creative. A mind that could imagine things that should not be possible. So they built the armor. They designed it to interface with the neural pattern of this imagined species. They built the vault to hold their final message. And then they scattered across the universe, seeding worlds with the building blocks of life, hoping that somewhere, somehow, the right kind of mind would evolve. Then they went to sleep, and one by one, over millions of years, they faded away. The last architect died before any other intelligent species rose from the worlds they had seeded. They never knew if their plan would work. The images faded, the statues' glow dimmed. "You are the species we dreamed of," the voice said. "You call yourselves human. You are young and fragile and small. But your minds burn with a fire we never possessed. You imagine the impossible. You feel what cannot be measured. You hope when there is no reason to hope." Felt tears running down her face. She understood now. Humans were not an accident. They were not just another species in a galaxy full of species. They were the answer to a prayer spoken billions of years ago by beings who would never live to see it answered. "But why me?" she asked. "Why did the armor choose me?" "The armor did not choose you. You were the first human to touch it. Any human could have worn it." The voice paused. "But the armor has bonded to you now. You carry the hopes of the architects and the future of the galaxy. Whether you wanted this burden or not, it is yours." Admiral stepped forward. His reptilian face was hard to read, but his voice was rough with emotion. "You said the silence cannot be defeated. Then what is the point of all this? Why bring us here just to tell us we are going to die?" "We said the architects could not defeat it," the voice replied. "We did not say it cannot be defeated. The armor gives its wearer power beyond anything we could create, but power alone is not enough. The wearer must have something we lacked. The ability to do what logic says is impossible." Looked down at her hands. The armor covered them like a second skin, pulsing with gentle light. "What do you need me to do?" Before the voice could answer, the vault shook. Alarms rang out from the Endurance behind them. Captain ran to check his communication device, and his face went pale. "The ships outside are reporting something approaching the hollow, something big." He looked at. "They say the stars are disappearing." "The silence has found you," the voice said. "It slept for millions of years after we vanished. There was nothing left to consume, but you have awakened it. It is hungry again." Felt cold fear wash through her. "How long do we have?" "Days, perhaps, hours, perhaps. The silence does not move through space. It unmakes space. Distance means nothing to it." Grab's hand. His grip was tight and warm. "Then we have to run, we have to warn the galaxy." "Yes," the voice spoke faster now, urgency filling every word. "Take the knowledge we have given you. Take the armor and its power. Go back to your people and prepare. The silence is coming for everything that exists. You are the only hope of stopping it." The statue went dark. The garden began to fade, colors draining away like water through sand. The vault was dying, using the last of its ancient power to deliver its message. Turned and ran. Everyone followed her. They raced through the fatting garden and back to the Endurance. The engines roared to life before the last person was aboard. "Get us out of here," ordered. "Maximum speed." His hands flew across the controls. The ship shot out of the vault and into the darkness of the hollow. Behind them, the great structure collapsed in on itself, its purpose finally complete after billions of years. And ahead of them, at the edge of the hollow, could see it. The silence. It was not dark. It was nothing. A wall of absolute emptiness erasing the stars one by one. Just looking at it made her mind hurt. Her brain could not process what it was seeing. "Full speed ahead," she said quietly. "We have to reach the Union. We have to tell them what is coming." The Endurance flew faster than it had ever flown before. The other surviving ships followed. They were racing against the end of everything, and was not sure they would win. The Galactic Union had never seen a fleet this large. Ships from every species gathered at the edge of inhabited space. Warships and cargo vessels and passenger liners. Anything that could fly and fight came to answer the call. It was the greatest gathering in galactic history, and everyone knew it might not be enough. Stood on the bridge of the Endurance and watched the fleet assemble. 3 weeks had passed since they escaped the hollow. 3 weeks of desperate preparation while the silence crept closer. The stars on the edge of the galaxy were already gone. Empty space where suns had burned for billions of years. Stood beside her as he always did now. He had not left her side since the vault. Sometimes she wondered if he was protecting her or if she was protecting him. Maybe it was both. "Are you ready?" he asked quietly. "No," she admitted, "but I do not think anyone could be ready for this." The silence arrived at dawn. It did not attack like an enemy. It simply advanced, a wave of nothing sweeping toward the fleet. Ships on the outer edge opened fire with every weapon they had. Missiles exploded against the emptiness and vanished. Energy beams disappeared without a trace. Nothing touched the silence. Nothing could. "Fall back to the secondary line," Admiral commanded. His voice was steady but could hear the fear beneath it. "All ships retreat." The fleet pulled back. The silence followed. It was not fast, but it did not need to be. It was inevitable. Ships that moved too slowly were consumed, disappearing without debris or wreckage. They were simply erased as if they had never existed. Watched it all from the bridge. The armor hummed against her skin, responding to her emotions. It wanted to act. It was ready. But she did not know what to do. The architects had given her power, but they had not given her answers. "There has to be a way," said from the pilot's seat. Her hands were shaking on the controls. "The architects believed we could stop it. They would not have built the armor if they thought it was hopeless." "They said we needed something they lacked," replied. The old scientist was calm in a way that seemed almost peaceful. "Something illogical, something impossible." Closed her eyes, she thought about what the voice in the vault had said. The architects were too logical. They thought in straight lines. The silence existed outside all lines. You could not fight it with weapons because weapons were just another form of logic, force against force, action and reaction. The silence did not play by those rules. So what did that leave? She thought about her life before all of this. She had been nobody, just an engineer from Earth who fixed broken machines. She had never wanted to be important. She had never asked for any of this. But here she was, the last hope of a galaxy full of people who were counting on her, people who were dying while she stood here trying to think of something impossible. The silence reached the main fleet. Ships began to vanish by the hundreds. Screams filled the communication channels before going suddenly silent. Captain was shouting orders, trying to organize a retreat, but there was nowhere to retreat to. Opened her eyes. "Take me closer," she said. Everyone turned to look at her, grabbed her arm. What? The endurance. Take me closer to the silence. That is suicide, said. We will be erased like everyone else. Maybe, replied. Or maybe I can do something. The architects built this armor for a reason. They believed a human could succeed where they failed. I have to try. Script tightened. Please, you do not have to do this. We can find another way. She looked at him, really looked at him, his messy hair, his glasses slipping down his nose, the tears forming in his eyes. She loved him. She had never told him, but she knew it now. And she knew that if she did not act, he would be erased along with everyone else. There is no other way, she said softly, but I will come back, I promise. She pulled away from him and walked to the airlock. The armor responded to her will. It sealed itself around her completely, protecting her from the vacuum of space. She opened the outer door and stepped into the void. She flew toward the silence. It was harder than she expected, not physically. The armor carried her forward like she weighed nothing, but mentally, every part of her brain screamed at her to turn back. The silence was wrong. It was an absence that should not exist. Looking at it felt like staring into her own death. She pushed through the fear. She pushed through the wrongness. She flew straight into the heart of the nothing. And then she was inside. There was no light, no darkness, no up or down, no time. She floated in a place that was not a place, surrounded by something that was not anything. But she could feel it. The silence had a presence. It was not evil, she realized. It was not cruel. It was simply hungry. It was entropy, the end that waits at the finish of all things. The universe wanted to end, and the silence was the tool it used to make that happen. Logic could not stop it. The architects had been right about that. Fighting it was meaningless. Trying to destroy it was like trying to destroy death itself. But humans did not fight death with logic. They never had. They fought it with love, with hope, with the desperate belief that life was worth something even though it always ended. Reached out with her mind. She poured everything she had into the connection. Her memories, her emotions, her fears and her hopes and her dreams. She showed the silence what it meant to be alive. She showed it her childhood on Earth, running through green fields under blue skies. She showed it her mother's smile and her father's laugh. She showed it the first time she saw the stars and decided she wanted to touch them. She showed it, clumsy and kind and brilliant, standing by her side through everything. She showed it love. The silence hesitated. For the first time in millions of years, it stopped moving forward. It had never felt anything before. It had only consumed, but now it was experiencing something new, something it could not erase. Spoke to it, not with words but with feeling. You do not have to end everything. You could be part of everything instead. The silence trembled. It was considering her offer. For a moment she thought it might refuse, might continue its endless hunger until nothing remained. But then it chose. The silence dispersed, not destroyed, not defeated, transformed. It spread out across the cosmos in a wave of gentle nothing, filling the spaces between stars instead of consuming them. It became part of the universe instead of its enemy. Floated in empty space. The armor was dim now, its light faded to a gentle glow. She was exhausted, more tired than she had ever been in her life, but she was alive. She saw the endurance flying toward her, saw the airlock opening and reaching out to pull her inside. She felt his arms around her as he held her tight and cried into her shoulder. "You did it," he whispered. "You actually did it." Behind them, through the windows, stars were appearing again. The silence had not returned what it had taken, but it had stopped taking more. The galaxy was but surviving. The war was over. 3 months later stood in a museum on Earth. The armor rested in a glass case at the center of the main hall. It was quiet now, its purpose fulfilled. But sometimes, late at night when no one was watching, it still glowed with soft blue light, waiting. The galaxy had changed. Humans were no longer the young newcomers everyone looked down on. They were heroes, saviors, the species that had stopped the end of everything. But did not feel like a hero. She felt like what she had always been, an engineer from Earth who fixed broken things. The only difference now was that the thing she had fixed was the universe itself. Walked up beside her and took her hand. "Ready to go home?" he asked. She looked at the armor one last time. Then she smiled. "Yes," she said, "I think I am." They walked out of the museum together, into the sunlight, into a future that was only possible because one ordinary human had done something impossible. And somewhere in the depths of space, the armor waited, because the universe was vast and old, and there might be other threats one day. When that day came, a human would be ready,